Welcome to Designer Digital's bi-weekly tip, October 18th, 2019. This week, how to use vintage blendable palettes as masks in Photoshop and Elements. I'll admit it, I'm all about finding different ways to reuse my digital supplies. Doing that helps me stretch my crafting budget by getting the most from the kits that I've already purchased. In today's tip, I'll show you how I reuse an element to get a totally different look. Katie Petit's vintage blendable palettes are sets of beautifully watercolored paint swatches that look amazing tucked behind photos or blended into a background. I am loving the pages I'm seeing in the Designer Digitals gallery using these wonderful elements. But did you know you can reuse the palettes as masks with digital paper or photos too? Here's how. Begin by opening a vintage blendable palette, a PNG image, as well as a piece of patterned digital paper and a new document or a project that you're already working on in Photoshop or Elements. Using the Move tool, which is the first tool in the Tools panel, drag the palette image onto your digital project or a new blank document. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag this down and drag it into position. Remember that you can drag the layer up or down the Layers panel to move it above or below other elements if you need to. Still using the Move tool, drag the paper image onto your digital project. So I'm going to drag this pattern paper over, and then I want to resize this a little bit. So I'm just going to take the corner handle and shift and drag to resize that paper. Your paper layer should be one position above the palette layer in the Layers panel. If it isn't, go ahead and drag it up or down the Layers panel until it rests one position above this little palette layer. And then click the check mark to confirm. Now create a clipping mask. You can do this by selecting the paper layer and pressing Alt-Control-G. On a Mac system, that's Option-Command-G on the keyboard. In older versions of Elements, press Control-G, or on a Mac system, Command-G instead. Your paper should take on the shape of the palette image, like mine has done. If that didn't work for you, try one of these other two methods for creating a clipping mask. I'm going to release the clipping mask and try the next one. The second way to create a clipping mask is to simply hover the cursor between the paper layer and the palette layer. Hold down the Alt key, or on a Mac system the Option key, as you hover. When the cursor changes to a box with a downward arrow like this, click once. This causes the paper to take on the shape of the palette image. The third way to create a clipping mask is to select the paper layer and choose Layer, Create Clipping Mask from the menu bar. When you're successful in creating a clipping mask, the palette image will be covered in the paper or the photo to which you clipped it. It gives the palette a completely different look and feel. You can even take it a step further by changing the blending mode of the paper layer from normal to overlay. Just select the paper layer and then go above the Layers panel to where it says Normal. Those are the blending modes. When you click on the drop-down menu, choose Overlay. Now the swatches are visible again, but they've been filled with your paper. How fun is that? This blending technique works best when the colors of the palette image coordinate with the colors of your pattern paper. I hope you'll experiment with filling your own vintage blendable palette images with papers or photos. It's a really neat way to get a whole new look. Thanks so much for watching this week's video, and be sure to check back in 2 weeks for another Designer Digitals tip.